When Ethan was little, he jokingly promised his childhood friend, Lily, that he'd marry her. He never thought she would take it seriously. But before he could even hit puberty, he had moved far away from the Midwest. Years later, Ethan came home from school to find that his mom had transformed his room into an ultra-feminine, pink princess palace. His mom followed that up by announcing that the room now belonged to Willow. Ethan, dumbfounded, looked at his mother and said, "I swear, Mom, I must be adopted." His mother replied, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. I'm not that evil." Mrs. Thompson took the grocery list her butler handed her and said, "Oh, right, Ethan. Could you please pick Willow up from school later? It's on your way." Suddenly burdened with this task, Ethan frowned at his mom, asking, "Who is Willow?" His mom looked even more puzzled than he was. "You don't remember? The little girl you traded $2 to make your wife? You forgot already?" With that, she pulled out her phone, showing Ethan a front-facing photo of Willow. "She's Mr. Davis's daughter. She's been sickly since she was little and would always follow you around calling you Big Brother. You even held her hand and made her smile." Ethan quickly dug through his memories for any matching information. Looking at the photo on his mom's phone, he suddenly remembered the girl from the Midwest whom he'd carelessly given directions to when she was about to pass out, since she'd been looking for her lost dog. It turned out to be her. No wonder she had seemed so familiar. That evening, after school at Northwood High, Ethan was holding the thermos of warm milk his mom had prepared. He held up the thermos and looked at the girl, remembering what his mom had told him. "That's Willow. She is a princess." While he was just a kid that didn't need much spoiling. Ethan sighed. His phone, lying beside him on the seat, suddenly buzzed. It was his mom calling. "Hello? Ethan, this is Willow's first day, so please take good care of her, okay? Go down to the school gate and wait for her. I already sent her your picture so she can find you. I'm not sure if she remembers you after all these years." With that, the phone went dead. Ethan turned to Mr. Charles, the driver, and said, "Mr. Charles, was I really found in a river? Willow Davis even has the same last name as Mom." Mr. Charles glanced in the rearview mirror, giving a polite but strained smile. "You're definitely her son, Ethan. But the Thompson family adores women. Your mom had complete control of the household. Now it looks like Willow will have control. Even though Ms. Davis is only staying here, she'll have control over all you boys." From a young age, Ethan had been raised in an environment where his father doted on his mother, and Ethan dared not disobey Mrs. Thompson. If Mrs. Thompson wanted him to get out of the car and wait at the school gate, then that's exactly what he would do. As the 3 p.m. bell rang, students poured out of Northwood High. Willow was slowly organizing her things. She wasn't particularly fond of socializing with everyone. She'd rather wait for the masses to clear out. At that moment, a message appeared on her phone from Aunt Thompson with a photo of Ethan. Aunt Thompson said, "My boy will come pick you up. I have to stay home and cook. I'm too old to be dealing with high schoolers, but please tell me about all your new friends when you get home. Bye." Willow looked at the message and smiled. Mrs. Thompson and her mom were great friends. Coincidentally, Willow and Mrs. Thompson had the same last name. She'd always adored Mrs. Thompson. It was just that she had moved away when she was 10 because of her dad's job. After that, because of her health, she hadn't seen Mrs. Thompson. They had only contacted each other over the phone. She immediately replied, "Okay, I know. I want to see you too." She put her phone away, put on her backpack, and walked toward the school gate. Standing at the school gate, holding the thermos, Ethan quickly spotted Willow walking out of the school. Her walk was slow and delicate. Just as she reached the gate, she stopped, pulled out her phone, checked something, then paused, pouting slightly. It looked like she was at a loss. My mom definitely told her, he thought, so why is she acting like this? Maybe I'm too ugly and scared her off. Figuring that he was handsome enough, Ethan took the initiative, thermos in hand, and walked over. Hot chocolate. My mom sent it over, Ethan said. Before Willow, a shadow fell over her, accompanied by the thermos of hot chocolate. The boy's fingers were long and slender, his joints distinct, and his nails were neatly trimmed. She couldn't help blurting out, "So pretty." Then, realizing what she had said, Willow's face flushed red and she quickly looked up, realizing that it was the classmate who had helped her find her dog back in the Midwest. Before she could thank him for that, Ethan spoke first. "I'm Ethan Thompson." Willow blinked. "Huh? What kind of reaction was that?" Ethan, seeing the other girl's confused expression, raised an eyebrow. "What? Did you not recognize me from the picture?" Willow quickly waved her hands. "No, it's not that. It's just the picture." Seeing the girl unlock her phone, open the photo, then zoom in, Ethan understood why she had reacted like that. In the photo, he was wearing a floral dress and a wig that his mom had chosen, strolling on the beach. That beach trip was a time he never wanted to remember. Ethan was speechless, wanting to die. "Let's go. Mr. Charles is waiting," he said. Willow quickly nodded, taking the thermos and following behind Ethan. From the moment Ethan had started walking toward her, they had attracted the attention of many students. Ethan was used to this atmosphere, but Willow clearly wasn't. Not only was she a head shorter than him, but she also inexplicably sped up, even showing signs of wanting to run. With his brotherly instincts kicking in, Ethan grabbed the strap of her backpack, pulling her back to his side. "What are you running for?" "I'm not going to eat you," he asked. Suddenly grabbed by the backpack, Willow felt as if she'd been yanked by the scruff of her neck. This familiar sensation. He was back. When they were little, this Ethan would often grab her by the collar and take her home, claiming it was for her safety. But every time she was grabbed, she would stagger. She felt this neighbor was even more terrifying than her illness. Did he not have hands to hold? Why did he have to grab her by the collar? Later, the young master Ethan had learned to hold her hand to go and play in the garden, but she had moved away. At the Thompson family's parking spot, Ethan very naturally ignored Willow, opened the car door, and even put his hand on the roof to prevent her from hitting her head. After she was in the car, he put her bag in the car and closed the car door. As the sleek, discreet Maybach drove away, the students who had witnessed this scene started to gossip. "Who has ever seen Ethan treat a girl like that? Last time, the school's beauty queen, Layla, gave Ethan chocolates, and he didn't even look at them. He just threw them in the trash. Don't even mention opening the car door and protecting her head." That's right, that's right. Last time, Layla got her clothes dirty and asked Ethan to borrow some, and he didn't. What did Ethan say at that time? "If you don't have money to buy clothes, go ask the principal for a poverty subsidy." In the car, it was silent. Perhaps Ethan's gaze was too resentful. Willow was drinking the hot chocolate, paused, turned her head to look at him, and hesitated for a few seconds, unsure, asking, Do you want some?" "Thanks, but no, I don't like stealing from children's milk." "It wasn't like it was breast milk, you perv." "But I heard your classmates said that you hadn't eaten because of a stomach ache and went home." Ethan thought to himself, who's spreading these rumors? At the same time, he received a text message. "Ethan, this afternoon you said you had a stomach ache and went home. Don't forget." He had really forgotten. This kid, Lincoln, how was he going to deal with him when he got to school tomorrow? Willow felt a little guilty. "Then why don't you drink some of this? It's still warm and good for your stomach." Seeing the girl's worried and guilty expression, he had no choice but to take the thermos and drink it reluctantly. "Okay, thanks. I don't like drinking milk. It's a bad habit since I was a kid. Luckily, no one forced me to drink this, except for Willow. If I didn't drink it, she'd cry." At that time, he was most afraid of her crying in front of him because he might be beaten up by both parents. He hadn't drunk milk in over 10 years. It was purely a conditioned reflex. "Young master, you don't like to drink milk, mister." Charles started, but before he could finish, Ethan, like a martyr, took a sip and finished it all. Seeing this, Mr. Charles squeezed his hands tightly, hoping that the young master wouldn't throw up in the car. Car washes were expensive. At that moment, at the Thompson family's gate, Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Thompson were already waiting. There was even a maid standing at the gate. The scene was quite large. It looked like some high-ranking leader had arrived. Seeing this, Ethan frantically exclaimed in his heart, "Don't ask. It's just that he has never been welcomed so grandly before." Willow held her small backpack and obediently got out of the car, walking up to Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Thompson, quietly greeting, "Aunt Thompson, Mr. Thompson." Seeing Willow get out of the car, Mrs. Thompson very enthusiastically took her hand, leading her into the house. "Willow, you're finally here. Auntie has been busy all afternoon cooking. I couldn't pick you up. Your mom said you like to eat wood ear mushrooms. I made a lot. Also, I've already cleaned up the bed for you. It's on the second floor, the first room. It's very big and bright. The layout is exactly the same as your old room. You'll definitely like it. Just stay at Auntie's house until you get your feet on the ground." Mrs. Thompson chattered, intimately walking into the house with Willow, as if they were real mother and daughter, leaving two silent, taciturn men behind to follow. At the dining table, Willow looked at the small mountain of food piled up in her bowl, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She had already eaten a lot. Seeing Mrs. Thompson about to pick up food for her again, Ethan immediately stood up, pulling her upstairs, only leaving behind one sentence, "Mom, we're done eating. We'll go upstairs first." Afterwards, he dragged Willow to the door of a bedroom, skillfully opening the door. "This will be your room later. If you need anything, tell me. I'll wake you up tomorrow morning," Ethan said. Willow nodded. "My mom has already prepared clothes in the closet. The uniform is also in there." Willow nodded. Ethan was speechless. "Do you want to say something?" He saw Willow looking at her toes, saying softly, "Later, don't grab me by the collar like when we were little. It looks like a puppy." Ethan was stunned. Right, Willow was all grown up now. Grabbing her by the collar wasn't appropriate anymore. Then I'll hold your sleeve from now on, okay?" he tentatively asked. Willow nodded. "Good night, Ethan." After wishing each other good night, Ethan, being called Big Brother, his footsteps became light as he returned to the study. That night, Willow slept soundly. At 7 o'clock in the morning, she sat up, rubbing her eyes, just about to get out of bed to go to the bathroom, when suddenly the originally quiet room was filled with loud quack-quack noises. Willow was so startled that her sleepiness disappeared. Her heart was pounding. Looking towards the source of the sound, it turned out that there was a green frog alarm clock by the window. She got out of bed, her bare feet stepping on the soft carpet, and slowly walked over, frowning and reaching out to press the frog. The clock was silent for a few seconds before it started to croak even louder. She didn't bother with it anymore, hugging the clock and running out, heading towards Ethan's study. Ethan, quickly open the door." The girl in her pajamas, barefoot, stood in front of the study, anxiously saying. Ethan had finally fallen asleep and was drifting on his bed when he heard Willow's voice. He immediately jumped up and opened the door, and then he saw a girl, fidgeting, stuffing something into her chest. Ethan looked down, his teeth grinding. "Lincoln, you're doubling down. And in front of Willow, too." He had no choice but to take the small clock and scan his face. He forgot to do this the previous day to turn the clock off. If it was anyone else, it would keep croaking until the authorized face unlocked it. After turning off the strange clock, the two stood facing each other in silence for a long time. The silence was the awkward music of the early morning. After eating breakfast, he put Willow in Mr. Charles's car. The car was very spacious. Willow was still counting the books and notebooks she needed, while he was looking at the snacks his mom had stuffed into his bag. Aunt Thompson said that Willow might be hungry, but these things were too heavy to put in her bag. Mr. Charles parked the car not far from the school gate, saying, "We're at the school gate, young master. You can go to school now." He was a famous figure at Northwood, and so was the car he usually took to school. When Mr. Charles drove closer, there were already many students standing at the school gate gossiping because not only Ethan was at the school gate today, but also Layla. Layla was the current beauty queen of Northwood. Moreover, it could be said that she was a die-hard fan of Ethan. Her family background wasn't bad either. She even had business dealings with the Thompson family. Beside Layla were some of her close friends. Everyone tacitly understood that Layla would be Ethan's future wife, so they had to quickly curry favor while their feelings were still budding. Otherwise, if they waited too long, they wouldn't be able to curry favor anymore. Look, it's Layla. I see her. Is it because of the picture on the forum yesterday that she deliberately came here? Why even ask? Of course. Before, when someone confessed to Ethan, Layla was always the first to appear. That's right. She's like a ninja hiding next to Ethan. Don't talk anymore, don't talk anymore. Ethan's getting out of the car. As the car door opened, his hand was placed on the car door. Willow, sitting in the seat, was about to put on her backpack, but it was taken by the car door and handed to Ethan. Oh my God, there's someone else in the car? What's going on? Standing next to the car, he squinted at the sun in the east, then looked at Willow, quietly shifting to the left a little to block the sun, afraid that she would be blinded and fall. He couldn't help but exclaim in his heart that he was really a kind older brother. Then, he reached out his hand towards Willow, intending to help her out of the car. Willow didn't refuse either. After all, the car was a little high and she was a little afraid of falling. So, Willow put her hand on his, her warm fingertips gently brushing against his palm, causing him to unconsciously grip her hand tightly. At this time, the surrounding students' gossip reached its peak. Layla's hands were intertwined, her nails digging even deeper. She only saw him lead a petite girl with long, flowing hair out of the car. Her eyes were bright like water and her skin was as white as snow. Oh my God, isn't that the girl in the picture from yesterday? I think this girl's aura is something special. She looks so fragile. Internal information, the girl's name is Willow. She's in the same class as Ethan. To add to that, she's currently Ethan's tablemate. Shoo, don't gossip so loudly. Layla is right next to us. She doesn't look too good. Reminded, the gossiping crowd quickly looked over at Layla. Her complexion was indeed not good. Some people had quickly left the scene, but there were still some who were bolder, continuing to observe. Mr. Charles's car was parked 10 meters from the school gate. He pulled Willow to stand properly. After she was steady, he let go of the hand that was supporting her. Lincoln, standing at the school gate, felt strange. When did their Ethan even learn to take care of girls? So, he pretended to be a good brother, rushing over. Just as his hand was raised 1 centimeter away from Ethan's right shoulder, he was brushed away by Ethan, who also threw him a cold, knife-like look. Lincoln froze, blinking. The remaining hand fidgeted, pulling on Thomas, who was behind him. With an expressionless face, Ethan's thin lips uttered one word, scram. Obeying the command, standing at the school gate, Layla stared intently at Willow. Last night, she had asked her brother to investigate Willow's background and family, but after all, he wasn't a god and couldn't investigate in a few hours. Now, she only knew 2 things about the other party: her name was Willow and she seemed to have an unusual relationship with Ethan. Although Layla didn't want to admit it, Ethan was indeed treating a girl like this for the first time. Layla had been pestering Ethan for many years, threatening and driving away many girls who had the same thoughts as her. Ethan had never let her touch the corner of his clothes. But today, he was holding a girl's hand. How could this not make Layla angry? As Ethan's figure gradually approached, Layla suppressed the discontent and anger on her face, put on a smile, raised her hand, and waved. Hi, Ethan. Good morning. Ethan acted as if he hadn't heard, and continued walking forward, but he noticed Willow was dragging her feet. He saw that she was slowing down and tugging on his sleeve. Ethan, she's saying hi to you. Ethan turned his head, tugging Willow's sleeve back down. Ignore her. I don't know her. But she's saying hi to you. Layla dropped her outstretched hand midair. The two were getting further and further away, but she clearly heard Ethan's words. He said he didn't know her. Layla lowered her eyes. How could he not know her? They were a couple recognized by everyone. Thinking of this, Layla raised her head again, staring intensely at Willow's retreating back. The anger she'd been concealing was now completely revealed. Ethan was carrying 2 backpacks in one hand and holding Willow's hand with the other as they entered class December 8th. The class had been noisy, but when they saw Ethan's figure, it was as if a magic spell had been cast, silencing the room. Willow had barely stepped into the classroom when she saw a crowd of people, some grinning, some twitching. Feeling a little nervous, she grabbed Ethan's sleeve and looked up at the couplet hanging at the classroom door. Bitter study in the cold window. Alone occupying the exam top. Sharpening books under lamplight. Seizing the top spot on the board. Very distinctive, this classroom was. Had she come to the wrong classroom? Yesterday, her classmates had been quite normal. Today, they suddenly seemed sick. What was wrong with them? Let's go. Willow looked at Ethan, then at the strange classmates in the class, nodding. Perhaps it was just her imagination. Her seat was still the same old seat in the 4th row by the window. Willow walked to her seat, sat down properly, and reached out to take the backpack Ethan offered. Ethan very naturally sat down next to Willow, pretending not to see Lincoln walking in. As he ran over with a silly grin, Ethan nonchalantly stuck out his left foot. Lincoln had just called out, "Ethan," when he tripped and fell forward. Thomas, who was walking in from the back door, hadn't even reached his seat when he was struck by an unidentified object. He quickly reached out to push it away, but his hands ended up wrapping around Lincoln's neck. By the time everyone reacted, Lincoln was intimately pressing against Thomas like a petite wife. The surrounding classmates Thomas, pinned down by Lincoln, felt like he was being violated. Lincoln, pressing against Thomas, grimaced, propping his chin up with his hands as he slowly got up, looking resentfully at Ethan sitting there calmly. "Ethan, what are you doing to me?" His tone was soft and full of complaint, as if he was suffering. The 4 words, "alarm clock," made Lincoln freeze. He almost bit his tongue off as he spit out those words. Willow, sitting next to Ethan, looked at him, then at Lincoln, who was rubbing his chin. She suddenly understood. "That alarm clock is yours?" "Oh no. It looks like I lost face in front of people because of the alarm clock. He deserves it. He deserves to be punished." And with that, she silently dragged Thomas to their seats, placing their hands neatly on the table. The gossiping crowd whispered, "What alarm clock? Why does Willow know about it? Were they living together?" The classmates tacitly returned to their seats, took out their phones, and typed at a speed that created afterimages. Northwood High Forum shocking post. The original poster has just heard explosive news. Ethan and Willow are suspected of living together. Oh my god, really or fake? Real. I'm a student in class December 8th. I personally heard them using the same alarm clock this morning. Our school's hottest bachelor is married? Our school's hottest bachelor has a child? I've already named the child. The rumor spread, relying on the magical power of human language. Thus, by the time it reached Layla's ears, it had become, "Ethan has a child." Willow's child. Layla frowned, confused and speechless, looking at her friend, Thea, who was bringing her the news. "Thea, do you think that even sounds like what someone would actually say?" Thea didn't think so either, but this was what others had told her. She felt that whether it sounded like it or not, it was still news about Ethan. If it was news about Ethan, then no matter if it was true or false, it had to be told to Layla. She was touched by her efforts for Layla and Ethan's love. Layla was speechless. She might as well rely on herself. Frustrated, she took out her phone, opening the file that Leo had sent her. Willow Davis, 18 years old, from the South. Layla opened it, then closed it. The result was, after looking and looking, there were still only these few words. The current situation was that either the Thompson family was suppressing the news, or Willow's background was not simple. But no matter which was the case, the Smith family couldn't touch her. Layla sighed softly, throwing her phone onto the table. From a young age, there had never been anything she couldn't get. If Leo refused to help, then Layla would do it herself. Ethan was the top student in the 12th grade at Northwood. Teachers never insisted that he attend every class or listen to every lecture. Thus, during Mr. Jones' class, he flipped open his math book. Math class was already dry and boring. Even Willow found her eyelids fighting each other, let alone Ethan. Last night, he had been forced to sleep in the study and his bed was a bit strange. He was having a beautiful dream this morning when Lincoln's damned frog alarm clock disturbed him. No, not Willow. Under Mr. Jones' hypnosis, Lincoln slept soundly, while Willow sat next to him. Her spot was next to the window and had sunlight shining into the classroom. The air conditioning made her even more sleepy. Thus, she could only try to open her eyes wide. When she really couldn't take it anymore, she used her hand to tap her own hand. When Willow tapped her hand for the 7th time, she saw Ethan slumped on the desk. Willow thought that he shouldn't be sleeping during class, so she reached out to poke his arm. Lincoln and Thomas, who had originally been dozing, were completely awake when they saw this scene. Oh my God, there was a daredevil in their class. Everyone in 12/8 knew that Ethan had a bad temper, especially when he was woken up while sleeping. Lincoln and Thomas, with the spirit of loving their friends, decided to stand up and stop Willow. Their big brother would definitely not hit a girl. Thus, Lincoln raised his hand, trembling, intending to pat Willow on the shoulder, but before his hand could touch her, his wrist was grabbed with great force. Lincoln's face turned pale. Ah! It's about to break. It's about to break. Ethan, it's about to break. Ethan glared at him. Lincoln felt wronged. He had been ignoring him since this morning. Even if it was because of the alarm clock, he should have stopped being angry by now, right? Why was he still glaring at him? Who are you trying to touch? Ethan, with a cold face, exuded a fierce aura, staring at Lincoln. How great! He was dozing off at the desk and there was actually an idiot who dared to pay attention to his girl. Lincoln realized that something was wrong, but his brain cells weren't enough for him to figure out the whole process in a short amount of time. Thus, he could only tentatively say, touching. Willow. Before the words could even finish, Thomas covered his mouth. Thomas frantically winked at Lincoln. He didn't realize before that he was so brave. What was that all about? Didn't he want to live anymore? He dared to say Willow. Lincoln finally realized that something was wrong. This beautiful girl couldn't be touched. The movements in the back of the class had long been noticed by Mr. Jones. He was just too lazy to deal with it. The seats of the 3 of them had been moved to the corner of the class and didn't affect the other students' studies. It's just that now there was a new student. Ethan, what are you doing? Mr. Jones' deep voice echoed throughout the classroom, showing the dignity of a teacher. The students in the front turned their heads one after another. It seems like Ethan has woken up. They turned their heads back again. Mr. Jones, Professor, are you really giving up? Mr. Jones' voice didn't startle Ethan, but it startled Willow. She didn't want to be called to the principal's office on her first day of school. Thus, under the expectant gazes of the entire class, she tugged on Ethan's sleeve, looking at him with a gentle gaze. Ethan, let's study. Ethan immediately let go of the hand that was tightly gripping Lincoln's, looking at Willow with a complicated expression. Why hadn't he felt before that the 2 words Ethan were so easy to listen to? The girl's voice was so sweet. Why did he like listening to it so much? Thus, he obediently turned back, looking at Mr. Jones on the podium. Mr. Jones, you can start class. After math class, Willow felt that her eyes were very dry, tired, and sleepy. Her drowsy eyes looked at the empty seat next to him. You must really have a lot of energy. Willow expressed her admiration. When Ethan walked into the classroom with a thermos of warm milk, he saw Willow rubbing her eyes, just like a rabbit washing its face. The rhythmic movements of her hands were very cute. He walked to the table, stopping Willow's hand that was about to rub her eyes again. He looked at her red eyes, frowning. "Your hands are dirty. Don't rub your eyes." "But I'm sleepy." Just then, Willow yawned. She was really sleepy. "Just look at me when you talk and you can open your eyes wide." Ethan looked at the thermos of warm milk in his hand and thought for a moment. Before Willow could react, the thermos of warm milk was pressed against her cheek. She drowsily took the thermos. As she lifted the thermos, her sleeve, which was a little long, slipped down, revealing the red marks she'd scratched on her hand. Ethan saw it and immediately grabbed Willow's hand, frowning. The girl hadn't left the classroom. Lincoln and Thomas didn't dare to touch her either. In that case, the red marks on the girl's hand could only be from her own scratching. He felt a little heartbroken. He had said that he would become a brother who would protect her, but he had still let Willow have red marks on her body. He frowned, looking at the back of her hand, and leaned down to gently blow on it. "Does it hurt?" Willow was stunned by the sudden action. "It doesn't hurt." After finishing the main subjects in the morning, it was lunchtime. After lunch, Ethan was called to the office by Mr. Jones to do some practice problems for the math exam. Looking at Ethan's retreating back, Lincoln in the back couldn't restrain his excited heart, quietly approaching Willow. "Little sis, what's your relationship with our Ethan?" Willow was adjusting her jacket, looking puzzled. "I don't think we have a relationship." "What do you mean you're not sure?" "You're his sister." "This is the latest news." Thomas thought for a moment. "Blood relation?" "Ethan is the only child in the family. Of course, it's not a direct blood relation. But what if she's the child of his aunt, uncle, female cousin, or second cousin? Even if they're distant relatives, they're still relatives." Willow shook her head repeatedly. "No, no. I call Ethan Big Brother because he's older than me. We were neighbors when we were little, but we haven't seen each other in a long time." Getting an answer, Thomas stroked his chin. A sister without blood relation." He and Lincoln exchanged a look, smiling knowingly. "She's just my sister." Willow looked at the knowing expressions of Lincoln and Thomas, remaining silent. At this time, the school forum was trending. Is Willow Ethan's biological sister or arranged sister? I know. I personally heard Willow say that she's his sister at noon. She's not a biological sister, but she's not a arranged sister either. She's just a sister. Maybe, but it's possible to ship them. I'm shipping them first. Layla closed the forum interface. The fingertips that were applying force were recognized by Thea, who could only come to her side and comfort her. "Layla, don't be angry. You know, everyone likes to gossip. Just wait until Ethan doesn't pay attention to Willow anymore, and they'll naturally know that the person who will always be by Ethan's side is you." Thea said, but even she wasn't confident, and her voice grew softer and softer. Layla felt that her friend had a point. She wouldn't allow Willow to have feelings for Ethan. Thea looked at the smile on Layla's face, knowing that she was about to get into trouble again. Thea lowered her eyes, looking at the message Leo had just sent to her phone. "The Smith family is in our school. Please take care of my sister. Tell her not to offend Ethan, and also, tell her not to touch Willow. It's over. Mr. Leo's coming soon." Seeing this message, Thea put away her phone. Currently, the signing of business contracts for the Smith family was all decided by Leo. Befriending Leo would directly benefit her family's business. Thus, Thea gently said, "Layla, why don't you drink some water? It's not too late to go later." Leo really hated this airhead sister of his. Leo impatiently paced back and forth in the office. He had just confirmed with the secretary that he had a very important meeting this afternoon that he couldn't leave, but he couldn't leave Layla alone there. Northwood High wasn't close to the Smith family's company. Driving over there would take half an hour. Moreover, it was currently rush hour, and traffic jams in the city center were normal. He hurried over, grabbing the phone on the desk. "Mr. Leo, have you arrived yet? I can't hold Layla back much longer." Leo almost bit off his tongue in annoyance, shouting, "Secretary Jones, prepare the car." Leo sped to Northwood High. The speed measurement system in the car continuously warned, "You have exceeded the speed limit." Leo didn't have time to care about this. He was currently afraid that Layla would accidentally offend the Thompson family and this Willow, whose background was unknown. Losing the favor was coming for his dad to give him the entire company. No mistakes could be made during this critical time. Thus, he stepped on the gas even harder. And Layla, after being persuaded by Thea, decided to show off in front of Willow. Layla decided to come to class 12 out of 8 after the afternoon break. At this time, Ethan was still being held back in the office by Mr. Jones, doing test problems. When Layla stepped into class December 8th, everyone was still dozing off, including Willow. It was the first time she had slept on the desk, but even with her clothes as a pillow, she seemed to be pressing her hand down to her neck. "It seems a little sore." "Willow." A strange female voice rang out in front of Willow. She looked up. Layla was standing in front of her with her arms crossed, looking down at her. Willow recognized this girl as the one who had been standing at the school gate, greeting Ethan this morning. No way, no way. Could this girl have come to cause trouble because Ethan hadn't greeted her this morning? And it just so happened that Ethan wasn't here, so she was planning to cause trouble for her? Willow felt that she had guessed the truth, because the girl in front of her looked very fierce. She had to apologize. She had to apologize. She was currently temporarily staying at Ethan's house. She was also half responsible for what had happened this morning. She should have pulled Ethan to greet her. Thus, Willow sincerely stood up. "I'm sorry." Layla's face was full of question marks. "I apologize for Ethan. He didn't greet you this morning. He didn't mean to. He said he didn't know you." "Great." The surrounding classmates gossiped in unison. How could Ethan not know Layla? It was just that he didn't want to pay attention to her. Layla felt that this apology was like mocking her, feeling that her fists were hardening. Great, Willow was actually daring to mock her about what happened this morning. She felt like her fist has been clenched to the max. She thought that she won because Ethan didn't greet her this morning. She'll just tell her, "You, Willow, can't be with Ethan after this. Otherwise, she won't want to know the consequences." Willow felt very wronged. She was staying at his house. How could she not be with him? "But I can't help but be with Ethan, classmate." "I'm sorry, I really can't do that." The smile dropped off Layla's face and you knew she was not happy at all. She then exclaimed, "Are you showing off to me?" "Oh, no, no." Willow quickly waved her hands. "I'm just telling the truth." Layla felt like she was about to explode with anger. What was wrong with this person? Every sentence she said poked at her breaking point. She was about to lose it. Unexpectedly, "Willow's pretty good, huh?" "Yeah, I thought she was just a harmless bunny, but she's actually giving Layla as good as she gets. Her aura isn't losing at all. Isn't it? Why do I feel like they're not talking about the same thing? I feel the same way." Layla was getting angrier and angrier. Lincoln saw that the situation wasn't good and gave Thomas the important task of protecting Willow's safety, while he snuck out of the classroom from the back door, sprinting at 50 meters per second toward Mr. Jones' office. Ethan had just solved the final question perfectly when he heard his friend's not-so-smart voice. "Ethan! Ethan! This isn't good. Willow's being bullied." Hearing the name Willow, Ethan's pupils constricted. What brat dared to bully his girl when he wasn't there? He threw down his pen and immediately ran toward the classroom. Just you wait. He would tear that brat into pieces later. How dare they? Layla was getting more and more annoyed with Willow. Was this person doing this on purpose? Putting on an innocent, ignorant face, but every sentence she said stabbed her heart. Layla was so angry that her face turned red and she was having trouble breathing. Standing next to her, Thea noticed that Layla no longer had the mind to pay attention to her, so she spoke even more forcefully to Leo on the phone. "This isn't good. This isn't good." Layla has already started confronting Willow. "Her expression doesn't look good, Mr. Leo. Have you arrived yet?" Of course, Leo didn't answer. He was still speeding to the school. "Layla, why don't you just let it go? I don't think Willow is intentionally showing off in front of you. Maybe she doesn't know that you and Ethan have been together for a long time." Thea grasped Layla's hand, seemingly trying to dissuade her, but actually pouring oil on the fire. Hearing Thea's words, Layla became even angrier. Willow, on the opposite side, had no idea what was wrong with this girl. Just because she didn't greet her this morning? This wasn't a big deal, so why was she so angry? Moreover, this wasn't even her fault. "Hey, I have to say, Layla, you're going too far." The classmates in class 12-8 who were watching couldn't hold back anymore. Willow was a new student in their class. How could she be bullied by a student from another class? That's right. That's right. Layla, what does the relationship between you and Ethan have to do with Willow? Willow is a student in our class. You're a student in another class. What are you doing coming here to lecture her? Could it be that you've done so many bad things that you think you're invincible just because you're by Ethan's side? Layla was so angered by the words of the surrounding classmates that her head was spinning. The angrier she got, the more she glared at Willow. Seeing the open water cup on the desk, without thinking, she picked it up, intending to splash it on Willow. Ethan had just arrived at the classroom when he saw the scene. Afraid, Willow cowered into the corner of the desk. Without thinking, he used almost all his strength to appear in front of Willow, knocking the water cup out of Layla's hand. With his other hand, he wrapped his arm around Willow's waist, pulling her completely into his embrace. Even though his movements were fast, some of the hot water still landed on his arm. His originally fair arm immediately turned red. He hissed softly. "Ethan, are you okay?" Willow asked anxiously. The sudden turn of events had left her unable to react. She immediately grabbed Ethan's arm that was in front of her. She had never experienced something like this before. From a young age, everyone she had come into contact with had treated her well. Being splashed with hot water caused her eyes to gradually turn red. Tears fell from the corners of her eyes onto Ethan's hand, clothes, and even the ground. "Don't cry. It doesn't hurt." He took the tissues that the classmates had given him, flusteredly wiping Willow's tears. "I have tough skin. I don't feel anything. Don't cry." Who says they have tough skin? Willow was torn between laughter and tears. Ethan looked at her expression and sighed in relief, pulling her behind him, looking at Layla with a blank expression. I didn't mean to, Ethan. It was her. It was her who intentionally provoked me. I really didn't mean to." Layla saw Ethan's gloomy expression, almost dripping with water, flusteredly saying, "Ethan, you have to believe me, Ethan." Ethan seemed to have heard a joke, slightly curving his lips. "Layla, may I ask if I and you, Miss Layla, are close? Why don't I remember?" His tone was polite, but the more Layla listened, the more frightened she became. She trembled, stammering. "And no, we're not close. If we're not close, then what makes Miss Layla think that I would be on your side? Ethan, I really..." Layla hoped to look at Ethan, hoping that he could give her some face this time. She really felt scared now. Willow is someone I'm protecting now. So what right does Miss Layla have to come and lecture her? Is it because you're Miss Layla, the beloved daughter of the Smith Group? A mocking expression was revealed in Ethan's eyes. "My dad still has to give me 3 points of respect. Do you think that in your dad's eyes, you're more important than the benefits of the Smith Group?" Although he was currently a high school student, he had already handled many of the company's decisions with his dad. His eyes were sharp and decisive, and his investments were almost always successful. Mr. and Mrs. Smith would indeed give him some face, not only because of his status as the crown prince of the Thompson family, but also because of the ability he had shown. Layla was the only daughter of the Smith family, but the person who would actually be in control of the Smith family in the future was her brother, Leo. Her dad and brother were genuine businessmen. Businessmen valued benefits. If she caused some unpleasantness at school that led to damage to the cooperation between the Smith family and the Thompson family, he was afraid that she wouldn't be safe and sound either. Willow, I'm sorry, Willow. I didn't mean to. Layla suddenly turned to Willow, reaching out, intending to grab Willow's hand, but Ethan knocked it away with his books. He placed his other hand on Willow's head, rubbing it to show his comfort. Willow obediently said nothing. No matter how ignorant she was, she could guess that this Miss Layla hadn't come to find her because of what happened this morning. Why isn't that Miss Layla so fierce anymore? Looking at her, I thought she was the boss. I only got paid the minimum to be working as her assistant. The surrounding classmates who were watching couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. Layla cursed inwardly. How would she dare? She was regretting it so much now. She shouldn't have come to class December 8th to cause trouble for Willow. Ethan, has my sister caused any trouble for you? At this time, Leo had finally arrived at the door of class 12 out of 8. The suit on his body was slightly disheveled. He was panting. He glanced at Ethan calmly. So what if he was the eldest son of the Smith family? Is Mr. Leo here to demand justice for his sister? Leo forced a smile. It's just that our Layla is not right. She's been a bit hot-tempered since she was little. If she's hot-tempered, then shouldn't she have thought about going to the hospital to check if there's a problem with her brain? The surrounding classmates couldn't help but burst out laughing. Haha. Is this the art of conversation between rich people? Leo hurriedly walked to Layla's side, grabbing his sister's hand, his tone stern. Layla, quickly apologized to young Master Ethan. There's no need. We wouldn't dare accept Miss Layla's apology. Originally, I didn't want to affect the cooperative relationship between our two families because of the conflict between students, but... Before he could finish speaking, Leo was sweating. He was the only son of the Thompson family. There was also a large possibility he wanted to use the conglomerate to make things difficult for their family. Sure enough, the following words confirmed the thoughts in Leo's heart. But I'm someone who likes to tell adults. I heard that the profits of your company's most recent quarter weren't very good. The cooperative relationship between our two families, according to the signed documents, can indeed be terminated. Well then, let's terminate it starting today. Ethan casually said, his whole body lazily leaning against the back of the chair, as if he was chatting with Leo. Leo knew Ethan's character. As long as it was what he said, there was basically no way to turn it around, so he could only force a smile. Then can young Master Ethan forgive our Layla? Miss Layla has a problem with her head. I suggest that she should rest for a few days. Go to the hospital to get it checked. It was said that Layla should rest, but discerning people could understand that this was telling Layla to take some time off from school. Okay, I will definitely take her to the hospital to get it checked. After finishing speaking, he pulled Layla out. Ethan coldly looked at the backs of the Smith siblings, reaching out his hand behind him, waving it. Lincoln, find an opportunity to let the air out of Leo's car tires for me. Hearing this, Lincoln's face was full of helplessness. He knew it. Ethan calling him Lincoln was definitely not a good thing. Willow, horrified, grabbed Ethan's sleeve. You can't let the air out of his tires. That's too dangerous. Lincoln doesn't need to go anymore. Actually, you didn't need to help me. Don't look at me like that. I'm actually not afraid of pain. Willow was still staring at the injury on Ethan's arm. Ethan put on an unusual expression. It's not that you, baby, can't bear the pain. Through his baby can't bear the pain, he was trying to say, I don't want her to get hurt in front of him. He felt that his wound might not just be on his arm. Moreover, he was her brother. Congenital heart disease couldn't be cured, but the everyday bumps and bruises could be avoided when possible. They couldn't let her kindness go to waste. Huh? You're my big brother. I have to protect you well. Willow looked at his casual expression, pursing her lips, opening the bag she had brought, taking out a tube of ointment, tightly grabbing Ethan's hand. Ethan was stunned. He didn't expect her to have this in her bag. Why do you have this? Willow was applying the ointment to Ethan, not even raising her head as she spoke. I have everything in my bag. My dad prepared it to prepare for emergencies. It's really great. When he arrived home, the fact that he had been injured on his arm didn't concern his mom. They were mainly concerned about something else. What? You actually let Willow get bullied at school? I really can't trust you. Looking at his mom jumping up and down in the living room, Ethan felt that he was sitting on a chair like a criminal being interrogated. This was really his fault, so he accepted whatever she said. He only had one request, and that was for the Thompson family to cut off cooperation with the Smith family. At this time, Mrs. Thompson's phone rang. The caller ID showed that the caller was Lily Smith. Mrs. Thompson wore an expression of disgust. Oh my, I haven't even settled the score with her yet, and she's calling me first. Luckily Willow wasn't hurt. If Willow was hurt, the consequences wouldn't just stop at this level. Mrs. Thompson waited for the ringtone to ring again, while Lily, at the other end of the line, was sweating, anxiously waiting. She was waiting for Mrs. Thompson to pick up, hoping to beg for forgiveness over the phone or come up with the idea of forgiving her. Waiting for the phone to ring until the last second, Mrs. Thompson finally picked up. Hello? Is this Mrs. Thompson? Lily's flattering voice rang out from the phone. Mrs. Thompson didn't say anything, silently waiting. Lily, at the other end of the line, didn't hear any movement from the other side, suppressing the unease in her heart as she slowly spoke. Mrs. Thompson, what happened this time was what my daughter did. It's just that it was a quarrel between kids. Moreover, that student, Willow, wasn't injured, so can you let it go this time? I promise to immediately take Lily to your house to apologize. How does that sound to you? Mrs. Thompson sneered. How does it sound to me? Lily thought in her heart, how does it sound to me? Of course I think it's okay. While Willow was fortunately injured, your baby girl burned the hand of our baby boy. He said, we stopped at withdrawing the investment. Because the girl was not physically harmed. I was not going to stop at just investment money. But there will be great problems. Ethan made a face at his mother. She made it sound like she wasn't a very caring mother. So there would be no cooperation with Smith. Smith was not worth it to her family, and their princess would be well cared for. Was that your only response for the phone line to hear you? Lily was frantic and said it again on the phone line, to be heard. And her daughter's actions had caused this terrible event. Smith may never recover. Our beloved, our jewel was going to be burned, had it continued and harmed. Then you would have had to bring a dog to appease her. Ethan felt she was going over her head to call him names. She would have turned to the company, hired those to damage them, but would start with their family jewel. At home, the atmosphere wasn't better. The family was devastated with the phone call ending as Smith called off their family after seeing the call would not be working. This time, we can't agree, Smith said. A decision was made. Her only recourse was for Smith to be cut off by Thompson. Smith knew what Thompson was capable of and felt they were no longer able to operate at all. This was just for protecting them, and for what, and who? She had turned to them to let them fall into worse than they had been before. She was never able to say sorry. Her fate was going to be far worse than it ever should have been. Having tried all that to appease her worried children. She went into her room and started her routine to wash them. To care for them. While Ethan was making her warm in her room, he was not able to go to the bathroom for a proper time with her there. To care for her was all that had to matter. Was all that could ever matter. Feeling much better after taking the medicine, the redness on her face had also faded. It must just be sleep sickness. Willow will be fine tomorrow. At 12:30 a.m., Ethan sent a photo to the family group chat with the caption, "Heard this ointment is really expensive." Not 3 seconds after this was sent, Mr. Thompson sent 2 messages because of this. Then he said nonchalantly, "It might be really expensive, because after using it, the effect is really good. My wound doesn't hurt at all. The stuff Willow uses is really good." Lincoln was speechless. "Ethan, take a look at your unpromising self. Waking me up at 12:30 a.m. just to show off your ointment." Thomas added to the group chat, "Ethan, you're done for. Thomas has a vendetta. Going to bed. Good night." Ethan replied, "Get out of here." The next day, Willow was surprised to see Lincoln and Thomas in the classroom. "Did you guys go to commit robbery last night?" Last night, the two of them had been woken up by Ethan. Unable to sleep, they tossed and turned in bed, unable to immediately get to Ethan's house and punch him. Seeing the resentful look on their faces, Ethan acted as if he didn't care. If they couldn't sleep, what did it have to do with him? He had slept very well after applying the ointment last night, especially the scent of lavender, which seemed to have a calming effect. "Willow, the ointment you gave me yesterday was really good. I slept really well." "Oh, Willow." Lincoln and Thomas smiled knowingly at each other. Willow was confused. The ointment was for burns. It didn't have a calming effect. Moreover, was Willow referring to her? Willow pointed to herself with a confused expression. Ethan nodded very naturally. "Yeah, don't you like it?" Willow lowered her head, saying softly, "You've already called me that. How can I not like it?" At this time, the school forum was talking about how Layla had apparently taken a leave of absence for a period of time, so shouldn't Northwood's beauty queen be re-elected? Why even re-elect? I automatically vote for Willow. Thea from class 3 isn't bad either. Why do you have to choose Willow? In the afternoon, the students were discussing this. The reason was that the school forum had launched a new beauty queen poll. In boring school life, everyone liked to look at beautiful people. "Hey, who are you voting for?" No need to ask. Of course, I'm voting for Willow. I have to say, we should still vote for Sarah from class 10. Her figure is impeccable. Innocence is no match for sexiness. On the forum, Willow's and Sarah's votes were neck and neck. In the eyes of the students, they were clearly two different factions. Willow basically didn't know about this, but Ethan, who was sitting next to her, was constantly monitoring the post. It was a post that Lincoln had sent him. He was also the first time entering the school forum. After voting, he conveniently forwarded it to the family group chat. The group chat name was Base for Protecting Willow. This is a beauty queen poll for Willow. Don't say anything else. Vote. Mrs. Thompson replied immediately with, "Understood," and forwarded it to the company group chat after she voted. Ethan nodded in satisfaction. It seemed like it still wasn't enough, so he forwarded it to the Class 8 group chat. "I have voted for Willow in Northwood's Beauty Queen poll. Hope everyone participates in the activity." In just 1 hour, there were many people supporting Willow. Her vote count immediately surpassed the second-place person by 3 times. The voting time ended at 7 p.m. that night. Congratulations to Willow for winning the title of Beauty Queen. Woohoo! I said it. In front of Willow, sexiness is nothing. Although the Beauty Queen poll only brought short-lived joy to the students, they were now in the final sprint of 12th grade. Exams and tests were very common. Mr. Jones walked onto the podium with a grin, slowly spreading the test papers on the table. When Willow received the test paper, her face scrunched up like a squeezed orange. She was sure that she must be missing a nerve in her brain that was responsible for math. Otherwise, why couldn't she understand the questions? The questions on the test paper recognized her, but she didn't recognize the questions. She bit her pen, painstakingly calculating, but looking to the side, Ethan seemed to be doing the test paper differently from her. He wrote very quickly, not even needing to do any scratch work. Although his posture was casual, his whole person exuded confidence. A math test ended with Willow helplessly collapsing onto the desk. However, since it was a test, there wasn't just math. Thus, for the past 2 days, all the 12th grade students at Northwood were immersed in the misery of exams. Northwood had abundant teacher resources. Everyone put in the effort. It only took one night to finish grading all the students' scores. They also did the statistics. Ethan was still first in the grade. The top 10 were basically all familiar names. It was just that this 7th place had never been seen before Willow. At this time, in the teacher's office, class 12-8, Willow was standing next to Mr. Jones, saying nothing. Mr. Jones sat in his chair, silently for a long time. He really couldn't understand. Clearly, all her other subjects were excellent. Why was the math that he taught the only subject that she got a 59 on? She didn't even want to try to pass the test. Mr. Jones thought for a moment, tentatively asking, "Willow, do you have any opinions on my teaching methods?" Willow lowered her head, looking at her toes, stammering, "Really, I don't. Professor." She was a little afraid to raise her head to look at Mr. Jones' expression. Thinking about it, she knew how much the other party was doubting her, but she really didn't have the talent for math. Mr. Jones took out Willow's other subject test papers, placing them next to each other. "You're even second in the entire grade for physics. Not to mention English, a perfect score." Mr. Jones felt a little dazzling. He wanted to cry. Willow could only smile awkwardly. "Professor, I'm just not good at math." "Mr. Jones, don't be too harsh on Willow. No one is perfect." An English teacher nearby spoke out to comfort her. From the first time she saw Willow, she had felt very fond of her. Her first trial test had gotten a perfect score. Normally, the English she spoke in class was also very standard. She really liked her more and more, unlike that kid Ethan, who only barely passed her subject. Mr. Jones slightly twitched his mouth, pretending to remind Willow unintentionally, "In the future, you should learn math from Ethan. The two of you sit at the same table. He got a perfect score, but you didn't pass. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask him. Don't be shy." The English teacher there wasn't willing to be outdone. "Willow, in the future, you can teach Ethan English. His level, if he goes abroad, people would sell him off and he'd still be counting the money for them." At this time, Ethan had just walked into the office, intending to find Willow to go back to class. He was stunned. Had he angered the English teacher again? This time, he had clearly passed. "Oh, Ethan, the national math competition is about to start. Take this form back, fill it out completely, and submit it to me." Mr. Jones saw him and waved. "Oh dear, our English competition is about to start as well. Willow, take this form back and fill it out." The English teacher enthusiastically handed the form to Willow. The other teachers in the office could only watch the drama unfold. Ethan and Willow held the two forms, looking at each other. Finally, they said in unison, "Yes, Professor. We'll go first." Under the announcement board for the 12th grade scores at Northwood High, there was only news about the top student's score. "Oh my God, someone needs to take care of Ethan. He's showing off again. Willow's ranked 7th. Our Willow is so awesome." Ethan felt extremely proud, like an old dad complimenting his daughter. He could be heard saying throughout campus, "Our Willow is too great." Willow acted as if she hadn't heard. She was currently resting her face on the desk. She just felt a little embarrassed. Lincoln and Thomas silently applauded. "So awesome. This is the 27th time Ethan has said this sentence." That night, when he arrived home, Ethan brought all of Willow's test papers back. Although he had known her ranking and scores for a long time, he felt that showing the test papers to the adults would make them happier. His parents were indeed very happy. "Oh, Willow, you're so amazing. Your scores are so good for your first time. You're much better than our Ethan." Mrs. Thompson laughed so hard that she couldn't close her mouth. Mr. Thompson, sitting opposite Willow, was also extremely happy. As expected, they still had to have a little girl in the house. This troublesome Ethan had never made him so happy during exams. Sitting next to him, Ethan put on a helpless expression. "I'm leaving then." During dinner, Ethan placed crab that had been peeled and shelled into Willow's bowl. "Your health isn't good. Crab is cooling. You should eat less." "That's right, Willow. You did so well on the test this time. What do you want as a reward?" Willow put down the chopsticks she had used to pick up the crab. Her eyes blinked. "There's a reward too?" Ethan looked at Willow's innocent expression and laughed. His mom had also used to reward him like this when he was in elementary school, but after that, she didn't reward him anymore. "What do you want?" "You can tell me directly." Mrs. Thompson retorted, "You still dare to say that? You're always first. Should I reward you every time? Moreover, take a look at what you want. How expensive are they?" Ethan said, "Well, you were my mom, and you thought I was expensive with all the awards?" Ethan said, while still growing to have a loving household with them. He remembered when he said, "I wanted to transfer the flowers from your garden to the room I need in this world." The answer was nothing more than a laugh, and then a slap. "A quick slap," he said. Willow turned and looked to see her new brother. But she could never get a rise or any words out. Ethan wasn't as bad as the one back home, she whispered to herself. His sister. Was everything now for his sister? His family didn't care. Feeling more comfortable after taking the medicine, the redness on her face had also faded. It must just be sleepiness. Willow will be fine tomorrow." At 12:30 a.m., Ethan sent a photo to the family group chat with the caption, "Heard this ointment is really expensive." Not 3 seconds after this was sent, Ethan was startled to be flooded with comments from Mr. Thompson, as soon as he noticed the group chat name. After, he said nonchalantly, "It might be really expensive, because after using it, the effect is really good. My wound doesn't hurt at all. The stuff Willow uses is really good." Lincoln was speechless. "Ethan, take a look at your unpromising self. Waking me up at 12:30 a.m. just to show off your ointment." Thomas added to the group chat, "Ethan, you're done for. Thomas has a vendetta. Going to bed. Good night." Ethan replied, "Get out of here." The next day, Willow was surprised to see Lincoln and Thomas in the classroom. "Did you guys go to commit robbery last night?" Last night, the two of them had been woken up by Ethan. Unable to sleep, they tossed and turned in bed, unable to immediately get to Ethan's house and punch him. Seeing the resentful look on their faces, Ethan acted as if he didn't care. If they couldn't sleep, what did it have to do with him? He had slept very well after applying the ointment last night, especially the scent of lavender, which seemed to have a calming effect. "Willow, the ointment you gave me yesterday was really good. I slept really well." "Oh, Willow." Lincoln and Thomas smiled knowingly at each other. Willow was confused. The ointment was for burns. It didn't have a calming effect. Moreover, was Willow referring to her? Willow pointed to herself with a confused expression. Ethan nodded very naturally. "Yeah, don't you like it?" Willow lowered her head, saying softly, "You've already called me that. How can I not like it?" At this time, the school forum was talking about how Layla had apparently taken a leave of absence for a period of time, so shouldn't Northwood's beauty queen be re-elected? Why even re-elect? I automatically vote for Willow. Thea from class 3 isn't bad either. Why do you have to choose Willow? In the afternoon, the students were discussing this. The reason was that the school forum had launched a new beauty queen poll. In boring school life, everyone liked to look at beautiful people. "Hey, who are you voting for?" No need to ask. Of course, I'm voting for Willow. I have to say, we should still vote for Sarah from class 10. Her figure is impeccable. Innocence is no match for sexiness. On the forum, Willow's and Sarah's votes were neck and neck. In the eyes of the students, they were clearly two different factions. Willow basically didn't know about this, but Ethan, who was sitting next to her, was constantly monitoring the post. It was a post that Lincoln had sent him. He was also the first time entering the school forum. After voting, he conveniently forwarded it to the family group chat. The group chat name was Base for Protecting Willow. This is a beauty queen poll for Willow. Don't say anything else. Vote. Mrs. Thompson replied immediately with, "Understood," and forwarded it to the company group chat after she voted. Ethan nodded in satisfaction. It seemed like it still wasn't enough, so he forwarded it to the Class 8 group chat. "I have voted for Willow in Northwood's Beauty Queen poll. Hope everyone participates in the activity." In just 1 hour, there were many people supporting Willow. Her vote count immediately surpassed the second-place person by 3 times. The voting time ended at 7 p.m. that night. Congratulations to Willow for winning the title of Beauty Queen. Woohoo! I said it. In front of Willow, sexiness is nothing. Although the Beauty Queen poll only brought short-lived joy to the students, they were now in the final sprint of 12th grade. Exams and tests were very common. Mr. Jones walked onto the podium with a grin, slowly spreading the test papers on the table. When Willow received the test paper, her face scrunched up like a squeezed lemon. She was sure that she must be missing a nerve in her brain that was responsible for math. Otherwise, why couldn't she understand the questions? The questions on the test paper recognized her, but she didn't recognize the questions. She bit her pen, painstakingly calculating, but looking to the side, Ethan seemed to be doing the test paper differently from her. He wrote very quickly, not even needing to do any scratch work. Although his posture was casual, his whole person exuded confidence. A math test ended with Willow helplessly collapsing onto the desk. However, since it was a test, there wasn't just math. Thus, for the past 2 days, all the 12th grade students at Northwood were immersed in the misery of exams. Northwood had abundant teacher resources. Everyone put in the effort. It only took 1 night to finish grading all the students' scores. They also did the statistics. Ethan was still first in the grade. The top 10 were basically all familiar names. It was just that this 7th place had never been seen before Willow. At this time, in the teacher's office, Class 12-8, Willow was standing next to Mr. Jones, saying nothing. Mr. Jones sat in his chair, silently for a long time. He really couldn't understand. Clearly, all her other subjects were excellent. Why was the math that he taught the only subject that she got a 59 on? She didn't even want to try to pass the test. Mr. Jones thought for a moment, tentatively asking, "Willow, do you have any opinions on my teaching methods?" Willow lowered her head, looking at her toes, stammering, "Really, I don't. Professor." She was a little afraid to raise her head to look at Mr. Jones' expression. Thinking about it, she knew how much the other party was doubting her, but she really didn't have the talent for math. Mr. Jones took out Willow's other subject test papers, placing them next to each other. "You're even second in the entire grade for physics. Not to mention English, a perfect score." Mr. Jones felt a little dazzling. He wanted to cry. Willow could only smile awkwardly. "Professor, I'm just not good at math." "Mr. Jones, don't be too harsh on Willow. No one is perfect." An English teacher nearby spoke out to comfort her. From the first time she saw Willow, she had felt very fond of her. Her first trial test had gotten a perfect score. Normally, the English she spoke in class was also very standard. She really liked her more and more, unlike that kid Ethan, who only barely passed her subject. Mr. Jones slightly twitched his mouth, pretending to remind Willow unintentionally, "In the future, you should learn math from Ethan. The two of you sit at the same table. He got a perfect score, but you didn't pass. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask him. Don't be shy." The English teacher there wasn't willing to be outdone. "Willow, in the future, you can teach Ethan English. His level, if he goes abroad, people would sell him off and he'd still be counting the money for them." At this time, Ethan had just walked into the office, intending to find Willow to go back to class. He was stunned. Had he angered the English teacher again? This time, he had clearly passed. "Oh, Ethan, the national math competition is about to start. Take this form back, fill it out completely, and submit it to me." Mr. Jones saw him and waved. "Oh dear, our English competition is about to start as well. Willow, take this form back and fill it out." The English teacher enthusiastically handed the form to Willow. The other teachers in the office could only watch the drama unfold. Ethan and Willow held the two forms, looking at each other. Finally, they said in unison, "Yes, Professor. We'll go first." Under the announcement board for the 12th grade scores at Northwood High, there was only news about the top student's score. "Oh my God, someone needs to take care of Ethan. He's showing off again. Willow's ranked 7th. Our Willow is so awesome." Ethan felt extremely proud, like an old dad complimenting his daughter. He could be heard saying throughout campus, "Our Willow is too great." Willow acted as if she hadn't heard. She was currently resting her face on the desk. She just felt a little embarrassed. Lincoln and Thomas silently applauded. "So awesome." This is the 27th time Ethan has said this sentence. That night, when he arrived home, Ethan brought all of Willow's test papers back. Although he had known her ranking and scores for a long time, he felt that showing the test papers to the adults would make them happier. His parents were indeed very happy. "Oh, Willow, you're so amazing. Your scores are so good for your first time. You're much better than our Ethan." Mrs. Thompson laughed so hard that she couldn't close her mouth. Mr. Thompson, sitting opposite Willow, was also extremely happy. As expected, they still had to have a little girl in the house. This troublesome Ethan had never made him so happy during exams. Sitting next to him, Ethan put on a helpless expression. "I'm leaving then." During dinner, Ethan placed crab that had been peeled and shelled into Willow's bowl. "Your health isn't good. Crab is cooling. You should eat less." "That's right, Willow. You did so well on the test this time. What do you want as a reward?" Willow put down the chopsticks she had used to pick up the crab. Her eyes blinked. "There's a reward too?" Ethan looked at Willow's innocent expression and laughed. His mom had also used to reward him like this when he was in elementary school, but after that, she didn't reward him anymore. "What do you want?" "You can tell me directly." Mrs. Thompson retorted, "You still dare to say that? You're always first. Should I reward you every time? Moreover, take a look at what you want. How expensive are they?" Ethan said, "Well, you were my mom, and you thought I was expensive with all the awards?" He remembered when he said, "I wanted to transfer the flowers from your garden to the room I need in this world." The answer was nothing more than a laugh, and then a slap. "A quick slap," he said. Willow turned and looked to see her new brother. But she could never get a rise or any words out. Ethan wasn't as bad as the one back home, she whispered to herself. His sister. Was everything now for his sister? His family didn't care. As for the gift, she thought for a moment, and looking between Mrs. and Mr. Thompson, she said softly, "I want to see snow. Snow to make and feel like to see how." Looking back at Ethan. That seemed so distant from her. Having never even gotten to do so. Not even when she was little. Maybe, only now for her. Snow. Snow in Chicago. That's my girl. I will get her to see snow. Exclaimed Mrs. Thompson. Looking at Ethan. That was her wish. He remembered thinking, if it was only a wish, that she may have him more than any, or all did. It will be this year, I will make sure you see snow, or experience it this year. A smile came across her, all while, the rest, were all silent with her. What's what he needed her for? Just to be happy. They finished their meal and the two went, without a single sound. A silence so strong that made those around them feel that they were, and could be, the two most powerful in their house. He was nothing, only for him. We should look for a way to see the snow, or do a lot. Or she never has. It is just how to give it to her, she won't take from her. He thought. The next day, the final students had been selected for the competition. The selected student would be heading to the competition tomorrow. Time was up. So soon. They would be heading to the area. The weather was turning now. Mrs. Thompson was packing for her, and putting as much of all of it as possible. She was in a state too, as Mrs. Thompson was with herself when it came to her own. There was no getting in the way. He watched as his mother, as it was all she had, just pack, and be there. He knew, his mother, would never trade her and Ethan for any. He knew now. That's what mothers were for. And she was there. For her. Soon, all was settled in. Mrs. Thompson had done her job. 2 cases, almost as big as his mother. We are ready to get it done, said Ethan, to his mother. As they headed to the bus, and said goodbye, the two waited. Willow was getting ready, as it was a long day. It was also a cold one. As Ethan went to carry them he was being a strain. He struggled, not like normal. Did you gain any weight? He said as he gave it a quick look. His body was not happy. But that was not anything more that could be. His body was now doing what he could do. As they headed to the bus, and took their places, Willow was tired. And so started to lean towards the window. They may be here now. Ethan had not seen as they took them, for their own, a simple spot, to then head on for their day. Soon the trip would be on their way. And the snow may be seen. Willow did not even realize that he was there, on this trip. And so, started the trip in the car. No to the driver, or to him. She may be out there for them. It will only be for him. With this, they were on the way. Leaving for the trip. The weather would be one thing, for her. It all that she would be able to even imagine. With that, it was done. They were off on their day. Heading for the goal. Ethan and Willow were now at one. She did not even realize that they were in the bus. As she headed to the window and started to doze, Ethan realized what was about to happen. As the top of her head was going to beat on the glass, with the trip. It would not look good on her. Or him. Having done this. The car was at the max of its top speed. A crazy trip, but what could it matter? He took a step, and she started going. Quickening, it would be a long day if she was not protected. All he could think of. He was all, but not with anyone to ask. With the quick take, and the push on the seat. She made her trip known. But the head was, but there. Ethan was quick and fast to the glass now to place his head on the glass. As she was going, all he could do, was place his face on top of her. It may be quick. But what else could be, but done? She was protected, but this cost him the face. It may be all. Not before long, with the turns. The side was no more protected from Ethan. Quick, with a shot out. He placed his hand out, only to start the head and her, to start turning in on him. He had to make a fast one. As her hands was almost with his. It could not happen. Not what he was able. He was there. She would now just know the sound, but nothing else. This was what he needed for her. With that they were gone. The moment was there. As some of the stud ends, and one so more, what had just happened. We're looking at it all. With much to do. Hey, take it, said a person near to what was about, as one. Without even asking. What had taken place? It all. They were one. Now and for the first. Now, the two continued. But their journey was only started. Now it was. For them. The journey to be. They are where. Where it was for them. The two. With all that would. Now it would, and could last. The journey. As. This did, and it did last. For all they could. Evading, she nodded. Yes, I have face blindness. The scene was a bit comical. Willow, lost in her world of imagination, didn't realize that Leo had taken her test paper back to his seat. At this time, Ethan squinted and leaned closer to her. In the next second, he reached out and pinched her cheek, pulling it gently to the side. The movement wasn't big, very gentle. What are you smiling about? Ethan suddenly brought his face close to Willow's. And nothing, big brother Ethan. Willow was pinched so hard that her speech was slurred, but she was still very spirited in seeking survival. She could only give in at this time. When the girl called him big brother in a soft voice, he admitted that he was moved again. So his heart was moved so easily, just a soft big brother from the girl. He secretly mocked himself in his heart, you really are unpromising. But what was the point of being promising? He only needed Willow to like him, and that was enough. Therefore, he could only smile and let go of her cheek, turning to pinch her sensitive spot on her waist so that she would become familiar with his touch. This was very important. At this time, the English teacher in charge of the competition stood in front of the blackboard, looking at the test papers, then looking at the students. After being silent for a long time, he really couldn't hold back and spoke up. Ethan, what are you doing here? You're not an English contestant. Ethan sat upright next to Willow, very humbly saying, Professor, I'm here to learn English. The English teacher was stunned. If only he could have the spirit to learn English like he did now. He would have passed the English test above average for me. He really hated studying but didn't make the effort. Correcting the test papers was still very smooth. It's just that during the break between classes, the students all saw Ethan following Willow around, acting spoiled. At one point, he would say, Willow, do you want to drink water? At another point, he would say, Willow, I brought snacks, are you hungry? Is the air conditioning cold? Do you want to wear my jacket? At this time, the school forum was asking, how are the beauty queen and hot guy doing during the competition? Pushing the boat, one word, hard to say. May the sun and moon bless them to be safe and sound. Pushing the boat, one word, hard to say. Recommend them to my house. Pushing the boat, one word, hard to say. The students at school looked at the screen filled with one word, hard to say, and fell into deep thought. So, in the end, was it developing in a good direction, or were they about to become enemies? Very quickly, the direction of the school's gossip had changed. In the morning, they hoped that the beauty queen and the hot guy could be together for a long time. Now, they hoped that the beauty queen and the hot guy would absolutely not become enemies. When Ethan received Lincoln's and Thomas's concerned messages, he thought something had happened. Ethan, take care. Take care of what? What are you, some kind of weird old guy? Don't worry. 18 years later, I'll be a man again. Ethan confused, and replied, what? Ethan, stop pretending. Everyone knows. You and your old sister-in-law must have broken up. If you say one more word like that, I'm gonna turn to my alter ego. Now, get lost. Lincoln and Thomas were in a state from Ethan. After his change. It was because, they are okay? Did we do bad? With a picture, and in the end it would not matter and they were in deep. Ethan, all to get back together, did you even? His response. What will happen when there is nothing more to do? Where had they gone, not to be? His final was that his response was still that. All to be done. For her. Them, they knew and to leave. But now, in those words, more were to come. He then thought and rethought, and made sure, all that he had done, would be the end to this all. Those words, changed their live forever. Now all, was that their own to look to. And all to say all was bad. With their final thoughts, she went. Leaving him to what were his. It was what has happened what did. Now, it was that. Not hereafter, nor not now. That was what was had came. What were all. with it all was lost. It was the most power thing in the world, that lost all but one, could give this to all. Now, to only wherein he would, as all what they're from, in her, or all, if only they could find a way, a path, to the next. Now they all. The power lost. But as, lost she not even see? Was she even the one that should have ever seen, and the all has now fallen? And who was she now? Ethan was. What she now could be. But what? To be, or not to be. What she had needed or what she has turned. And more all those around. The rest did not, what had. Or never to have now been here. Now, with that. More was all she could know. Back in the moment, was now what it, now had been. The trip would never stop or be what it all is. And how? The world would make one and way and other. A way to tell what? I cannot. I want you to take, for me with all of them around, she took. And never to ask again why. Tell was all there for one, tell you what she has come to be. There, for all she did. But not know. Did, in her life, more and always. And knew never, this to all could. And one thing after other she was. Did as told. But, her. All this had did. And what one so? No way. No was all where it, has all done. All was. I hope, you can find it. That, was her too, what came all to do. No never. Ever was that what it has brought all up to. But how? I know, you always see. How has all came to one? Tell her I say never more. That was it, now he knew. The words he was here to say. Just. Tell him now? As, was never in the cards, as to all and say. I said this. And was how could it ever just say? She didn't know. But if she did how could I? We will see. To take it all. So, now. What? Well, they must all be on their way? As, they were never to even go there. The all, or them. What could come here never? So it. The trip has been planned, well, it needs to be put to rest. Now was over. As one could. So too. They all would go on, in each other's way, in as long as he could, now. With this. There now was only thing to do. Stop this here. Let them all know. She can never go back. I don't know. What is coming but, now that is the key word. Now. They will never be to get what she has or will never do more. For it is what must take it to be. She would never know. That was, the game to plan. How can I let know to her, that the dream can't be? They said? That's all will it come to be. We must be told this. He then asked. He was to find. The game to tell to all, there, what? The game. All was, what can must what. So too, with all and that. Tell me, all it needs, and now that all and one tell. So, too, in one that all must tell, the game had started, was that. The rest would be, that where has there was. No to this moment, had all been. What all, would make this work. With them to it. The rest was not, now here where. And the game that now must be. It would be that, it must do. So. What it? What would take place? In the end? This could never be known. But all. It was her choice now. Was. That was it. And the power that she needed. Has. But will she? We all must wait.